So I bought one of these, the new 13-inch M4 iPad Pro, together with the new Apple Pencil Pro and of course the new Magic Keyboard. Maybe I was mad to do so, but anyway, here's my quick review. Alright, so this new M4 13-inch iPad Pro, what about the design? Well, it's just the same as it was in the M2 model and indeed the M1 model. There's no difference in terms of the bezels. The display, of course, is different, but I suppose the main difference is the thinness. It really is incredibly thin. What is it, 5.1 millimeters? The thinnest device Apple's ever made, they say. And I have to say it is very, very thin. If you can see that here, how thin it is, but it is very thin and also therefore very light. And in fact, that's one of the real advantages of it being thinner. It is much lighter. It's noticeably lighter than the previous M2 and M1 models. And given that the new Magic Keyboard is also lighter, it means that the combination of the two is significantly lighter than the older keyboard and iPad combination previously, which was actually quite weighty. But now with this lighter 13-inch model, the lighter Magic Keyboard, it's definitely more portable as a laptop replacement. So I think that's worth noting. If you use your iPad Pro with a keyboard attached as basically a laptop, then you'd certainly benefit from the lighter weight. As far as the display goes, of course, as I say, there's no difference in the actual size of it, even though I think it's called 13-inch rather than 12.9. I don't think there's actually any difference. But of course, the big difference is the fact that it's now an OLED display rather than the mini LED. Now, being Apple, of course, they've brought out what's called a tandem OLED display, where you've got actually two OLED layers, which in order to generate sufficient brightness. And I have to say that the claims by Apple are accurate. It is an absolutely again, how much you can see that, but it is an absolutely superb display. Probably the best one available in a tablet. I mean, you get all the benefits of OLED in terms of the dynamic range, the deep blacks, the bright highlights, excellent colour reproduction, colour accuracy. But because they've used this tandem version, it doesn't suffer in terms of brightness either. So it is a wonderful display. Absolutely superb for watching HDR movies and TV shows, obviously, but I mean great just for normal use, for looking at your photos and viewing website pages. I mean, you can't fault it. Is it actually significantly better than the mini LED display that was on the M2 and M1 models? Well, actually I don't think it is. It's better, but it's not significantly better. The mini LED display was excellent too. I had no complaints about that. So, you know, if you're buying the new iPad simply for the OLED display, then and you've already used to the mini LED, you might be not disappointed, but you won't notice such amazing improvement. I mean, it's a better display, the best display that's been on an iPad, but the mini LED display is also perfectly fine. What about the performance? Well, obviously it's very, very good. It's got the new M4 chip, which is super fast, the fastest chip that Apple has made. Well, when you look at the base version, that is, I'm sure that it's not necessarily as fast as an M3 Max, for example, or an M3 Pro. I'm not sure on that, but it's certainly blindingly fast. Is it in fact overkill for the iPad, as some people have claimed, given the limitations of iPadOS? Well, maybe, but I don't see that there's any downsides to having a super fast processor. It does mean that everything works instantly. It means that rendering times in Final Cut Pro and things like that are going to be fantastic. So I don't see any downsides really for putting this M4 in if it's available. And in fact, I think Apple did in fact say that they needed the M4 in order to drive the new tandem OLED display, so that would mean that it would have to be in it. But it does everything wonderfully fast. There's no lag in anything. What about the cameras on it? Now, one of the changes, which should have been done, of course, years ago, is that the FaceTime camera now is here. Of course, it's in the middle of the landscape edge, which is where, of course, it should have been. It used to be on here, of course, which was crazy when if you were trying to do a FaceTime or a Zoom call or something with the iPad in landscape mode, which you probably would. Then of course you looked odd because it looked as if you were looking in the wrong direction. You had to look at the edge of the iPad to actually be looking at the camera. It was a bizarre decision, which should have been corrected 2 or 3 models ago, but they've finally done it, and still retained Face ID. So that is a definite improvement. If you use your iPad for Zoom calls, for Teams meetings, for FaceTime, then you're going to really benefit from this change. Audio, well, that's just as good as it was before. It's got these 4 speakers, 2 either side, so the audio is perfectly fine. Certainly more than good enough for watching movies and videos, but also okay for listening to music. I mean, I would generally use headphones for listening to music. If I was playing songs on the iPad, I'd almost certainly use my AirPods Pro, AirPods Max, rather than the inbuilt speakers. But the speakers are fine. You can listen to music satisfactorily with them. But I think they're mainly best used for providing sound for TV shows and movies. So that's pretty much the same. I don't think there's any changes from the previous model in respect to the speakers, nor indeed the microphones. Apple, I think, has claimed that the microphones on the iPad Pro are studio quality. Well, again, I'm not going to accept that. I don't think they're that great. They're nowhere near as good as a dedicated microphone. But obviously, again, perfectly fine and good enough for video conferencing. Battery life, well, that's up to the usual standard. Apple is claiming, I think, the usual 10 hours of battery life, and I must admit I have no complaints on that. It certainly lasts all day for me on a single charge. I've actually set it so that it doesn't charge beyond 80%. This is a new feature that's available on the iPad and on the iPhone 15. I'm not sure it's available on earlier models, where you can actually limit charging to a maximum of 80%, which apparently helps to prolong battery life. But I found that an 80% charge will last me all day, and I do use my iPad a lot. I'm on it fairly continually throughout the day. I love my iPad. I use it all the time, so no problems on battery life. What about the new Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil Pro? Because those have had some updates, of course. Well, the Magic Keyboard, here it is. Again, this is it's still the best keyboard available for the iPad. It's the same basic design, of course, where the iPad magnetically attaches here and then effectively floats above the keyboard. But they have made some very useful improvements. As I say, it's lighter. It now has an aluminium top here where the keys are, rather than the plastic that I think I had before, this kind of rubberized plastic. That's still on the outside, but on the actual keyboard here, then you do have this aluminium, and you now of course have a function row key. Oh, hallelujah, that was one of the big problems, omissions from the previous model, and I definitely missed. So you've got a standard set of function keys so that you can actually adjust brightness and volume, and you've got an escape key and so on. And that should have been on there to begin with. And also you've now got a larger trackpad, and of course it's the excellent trackpad that Apple puts on their MacBooks, and so you've got an excellent trackpad. So it is definitely, there's no keyboard, certainly no keyboard trackpad combination that beats the Magic Keyboard. The only downside of course is that it's expensive, but if you do a lot of typing on your iPad, if you use it as a laptop replacement for various applications and so on, for various tasks, then it's well worth the expenditure. I've never been quite keen on this actual kind of rubberized plastic material that it's made of here. I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but it's kind of, it does feel like kind of rubberized plastic. I always think that it marks fairly easily, but that's the only criticism I have of it. Now the Apple Pencil, here it is, the Apple Pencil Pro I should say, and if you can see that, it does actually say Pencil Pro now. That of course has had some improvements. You've still got the double tap and the hover, which were on the previous Apple Pencil, second generation. Now of course you've got a couple of other ways of making things happen. You've got the squeeze feature now, where you can squeeze it to, that usually brings up some kind of menu system when you're using it. And you've also got this, I think it's called barrel roll or something. You can turn the iPad and that will have some effect, but of course the software that you're using has to be written to take advantage of these features, and at the moment I don't think there's that many. The only one I've really come across that where these two additional features work are the Notes app. Unfortunately, the note-taking app, which I use most of the time, Microsoft OneNote, does not have those two features yet, but I'm sure that Microsoft will add them. As regards other note-taking apps like Notability, I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure if that's been updated to incorporate those two additional features, but I'm sure they will do. And so it's very useful to have just these additional features. I do find the squeeze gesture very useful for bringing up a sort of context menu. I haven't really used the rotating, the barrel roll, whatever it's called, feature. But again, the Apple Pencil has always been fantastic. Again, it's by far the best stylus for the iPad. Not surprising, I suppose, given that Apple's able to integrate it much better, but it is superb. I've always loved it, and it's one of the reasons I like having an iPad, is because I love taking handwritten notes with the Apple Pencil. So again, improvements are useful, but again, possible downside is it is expensive. It's about £129, I think, here in the UK, $129. This, of course, is about 350 quid. They are expensive. So if you do buy both of these and then together with the iPad, it's getting upwards of 1,500 or more pounds, I suspect. So it's a pricey combination, but if you love your iPad as I do, and if you use it all the time for note-taking, and you also want to have a very good keyboard and trackpad to use with it as well, then these really become essential accessories. So those are just some of my thoughts on the new iPad Pro. It's essentially the same as it has been for a couple of versions now, but I do think the inclusion of the M4 chip and the OLED display and certainly, as I say, the lighter weight, the thinner and lighter design, which is very handy, and together with these improved vital accessories, then I think for me it's been a worthwhile expenditure.